Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How's everybody tonight? Good? No? One not good? Okay. Can't do anything about it right now. I'll be happy to help. Thanks for coming out. We had similar last week, but more on that side of the room. I don't know if it's the side of the room or what have you, but I would think that side to get out quicker. Everybody knows we're here to talk about the country club, right? Talked about the yacht club last week. We're going to talk about the country club tonight, and then Saturday we're going to do both. Okay. Reasoning for that is we're trying to give the opportunity for folks that are not only here during the week, the regulars that are here full time, but those on the weekenders that come down, give them the opportunity. And I've had a lot of time to speak with a lot of them, either via email or phone calls, several today, leading up to it. So hopefully we'll get them to come out. We're doing a streaming again. Mike, go ahead.
You don't open the meeting, Mr. Clay.
Oh, thank you, Dutch. Thank you. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, sir. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, my question so far was going to be, can everyone hear me, or do you want me to put the mic on? I'd be happy to do it. Can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. If it changes, and can you pick it up okay with the...
I'm hearing you fine.
Okay. All right. Well, then we're going to try the non-mic this time. We've made some changes, hopefully, to make some improvements with the mic system. Those have been some of the last meetings have noticed we've had glitches with it, so we're trying some different setups. So thanks for being out here tonight. We're going to go through, similar to what we did last week, we're going to just talk about the facility, talk about the process we used a little bit. I'm going to go over everything that led us up to this point. And then once I get finished going through that, then what we'll do is we'll open the floor for questions, and I know they'll come from a lot of different directions, and we'll just stay and talk about it as long as we need to. Okay, everybody okay with that? Okay, not dissimilar to what I said last week, the process started where we're starting with the research, and we kind of went around the circle here. Board gave direction, take a look at our major facilities, take a look at the conditions of those facilities, and then from there make some recommendations moving forward. With that board guidance, we formed the facility planning group, which was a small group of folks that helped me that were smarter in engineering, had some architectural background, clubs and facility background, a couple chairs in those areas, just to help me to make sure as I went through materials and information, again, one person can't know everything, so what you do is try to get people that are smarter than you around you to help you, as you dissect it and go through it and make the right recommendations moving forward. The other thing that was very, very good for us, the starting point, was we had all the material that was given to us from the 10-year task force. 10-year task force worked 18, 19 months reviewing the facilities, looking at conditions. They had some evaluations done. All that work had already been completed. So as usual here, we tend to do things multiple times. I was determined when we started down this path not to completely repeat everything we did and then put it, in a drawer somewhere and wait a few years, pull it back out and go, we need to do this again. But the neat part about it was we had a baseline or some great material we could refer to. That team put a lot of time and energy into it. We were able to start from there as a starting point and use that as a baseline for us as we started to move forward. And that was, we put information that was from the 10-year task force, and information coming out of that fell into Stephen Stuper course. And I'll refer to some of that material a little later on. From there, we did some solicitation with community input, not unlike this, but it was much smaller groups, individuals talking to folks that I knew had interest in certain things with each of the facilities, just so I could get a better understanding and some ideas moving forward of what may or may not be possible. Also took advantage of some local business experts. When we're looking at the facilities, we're talking about some local restaurant owners, facility managers, those type of people that could give us some insight. So as we're looking at what we have and potentially what we could have in the future, having their input would be very, very valuable to us, especially those who are very successful in the area. Which brought us into where we are today with all the background, with the research we did, the evaluation process, and then we designed a concept or concepts, one for each of the facilities. Tonight's going to be the country club. Things that are real important to understand. Our starting point was not for our evaluation out of the gate, wasn't how we were going to use it. We really need to understand what the condition of the facility was, the actual physical plant of the facility. No matter what we were going to do moving forward, without having a clear understanding of what we had to work with, it would be unreasonable to say, okay, here's how we're going to use it without knowing what we actually had. So that was our first step. Now, this structural inspections that had been done in the past on our facilities, they were not as aggressive or invasive as the inspections we had done this time. With these particular inspections, we actually, in certain areas, would cut holes in the walls so they could look a little deeper to see the actual infrastructure and get the real conditions, not just a visual part. They could actually open it up and look inside. That was very important in the yacht club because we got to see some of the beams and some of the things that we just weren't sure about. Same with the country club. We went a little deeper so we could make sure that we knew exactly what our starting point was. From there, we considered how we were going to function, how we would utilize those facilities moving forward. The last piece, and it's really at this point very limited, is the aesthetics of the facilities. We've developed the concept based on this information, but colors, materials, and actual concept, the design of the building is still up in the air. We had to start somewhere, so we put, for each of the facilities, put something together which we thought met the needs, but that's why we're having these type of discussions now, and that's why we're getting some of the great feedback we've gotten via email and phone calls. People are looking at it, they like it, they don't like it for one reason or another, but that's how we're going to make this right. Whatever we end up with is this type of feedback. And that's where the aesthetics are the last part of the process. Everybody understand where we are with that? Good? Okay, let's talk a little bit about the physical condition. We have a full report, okay? Those that came for the 7-hour marathon, when we gave them both back-to-back when we first rolled them out, okay? And a lot of people couldn't stay for all, came for one or not the other. Those reports are available. They are online. The actual structural reports are available to you. You're welcome to look at any of them. What I chose for tonight, and since we've already been through that lengthy part of it, pictures are worth 1,000 words. So what I did was take out all the additional wording, which you guys are welcome to go back and read, and I just stuck to some of the pictures with the highlights of what the conditions are. When we started, we covered project and purpose, evaluation team, the actual background material that we supplied to the team, the process we used, and then end up with the results. The components, things we were concerned about, ADA. Are the buildings ADA compliant? Building envelope, are there concerns based on the structure? Now, keep in mind, this is what we asked the structural evaluators when they came to the inspection. These were points that we wanted them to make sure that they had in consideration when they were coming out to the evaluation. The building envelope, how the building or the structure was on the site. Architectural conclusion and recommendations. I didn't want them just to be as vague to say, yes, this is in poor condition. I want to know how poor and what recommendation they may have. Okay, it was important to get that third-party validation. Structural findings and recommendations. There are areas we were hoping that they would find more areas that were positive, because the more positive, the less work we'd have to do. But what I didn't want to do was limit them and say it has to be one way or the other. It was very open, allow them to come in as experts and do their job and give us good information of exactly where we stand. That included the mechanicals. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all those we didn't know exactly where we are. Because if we're looking at a rehab or replacement, we need to have a real good idea of what items we would either have to get rid of or we could work with. So they were the details that we gave to the inspectors when they came out, third-party inspectors. Becker Morgan was selected to do this group. For each of the facilities, we did an RFP, request for proposal. We sent it out. We had the highlights with that information in greater detail and said, here's what we're looking for. They submitted bids back. We took those bids, put it on grid from everyone that submitted it, and it was really just an Excel spreadsheet and line items, what they provided, what they didn't, were they local, were they non-local, what their costs were, And at the end of the day, we came up, and Becker Morgan was ones we selected to do this particular project. The building was also analyzed for compliance with current building codes. You know, when you look at the building, how does it currently comply? Not just ADA, but building codes. Evaluation was based on, when you're looking at the evaluation, I wanted them to give us consideration that we're looking at long-term. You know, not something just to get by for the next year or 2 or 3. We need to think long-term if we're going to take care of our investments. And that's what we had. We made sure that when they went to do the project, they were thinking long-term. Background, the Golf Country Club was built in 74. There was a major renovation in 85. The building's approximately 37 years old. The building is 14,911 square feet, and it's on concrete slab. 2-story split level for those who may not have been into the facility. Building serves a number of functions associated with golf. It has the pro shop, the locker room, the office, Turns Grill as well, and that's at the restaurant. The second floor facility has multiple meeting space rooms and a kitchen off to the left once you come up the stairs. We provided with Becker Morgan Group the existing drawings, any information we had that we could provide to them to make sure they could give us as thorough an inspection as possible, we provided. Public Works had a history and records of all this, and we made sure we passed that on to them. Multiple visits were made to the facility. It wasn't just come out one time and go. They actually sent different engineers out, mechanical side, electrical engineer, plumbing, those type of components. So we had different people visiting and taking a real hard look at all the components of the facility. Here's what the results were. And again, this is all available to you in a much greater detail. But electric lift, this is the elevator. If you're standing here just as a point of reference, you come in the double doors. That's if you're going to go to the second floor. It does not go down to the first floor or the bottom floor. Okay, not ADA compliant. We have a number of these stepping hazards, which again, not ADA compliant, just nature of the building we're dealing with. Hallways, the first few slides here we're dealing with ADA. The men's bathroom area, it does have the stool area and the rail, but it's not wide enough for a wheelchair to operate. So it's not ADA compliant. And the hallway here is extremely tight, again, not ADA compliance. Again, these are things we just need to know. Handicap areas, the parking, and there's a slope issue, 20-to-1. The conclusion was we don't think we're within the slope, and that's for ingress and egress for someone in a handicap type situation, either a wheelchair or walker or something. Stairwells don't meet the code. Handrails, the extra rail that goes along here, this one's too steep. So there's a number of things. Again, it's an older facility. They're not going to be built to current code, so you'd expect to find some of these. Windows are functional. Anderson windows, the R rating isn't what you'd hope to have, but they are functional. You know, the windows do work on the facility. These are the ones downstairs. We do have upstairs, the ones when you come into the second floor, you kind of look up. There's 4 windows across the top there. They're in really bad shape. They're just old. They've been there since building started. There's some of the caulking around that they found. They just took some snapshots of some of the items that they picked up on. Again, nothing here that we didn't expect when you have a building of this age. This is where you start to look at and you start to have some questions. This is where some drywall, and you have this in different spots in the building. This is a direct reflection of moisture or water damage at some point. It gets soaked, it dries, it gets soaked, it dries, it starts to buckle. And that's what they picked up on now in several of the areas, some moisture and some failing drywall areas. Rooftop, couple things here when you look at this is a drain. You see where the roofing is starting to, it's cracking up. Older roof, that'll happen. Concerns, you're looking at a wire of some sort that's sitting right where the water sits. Not unusual for this structure. I mean, it's an old building. There's a lot of wires moving a lot of different directions. This area, there's been leaks over the years. They've patched many times. The flashing and stuff is not, some's there and some's not. Again, just the nature of an older building and trying to do multiple repairs to it. Some of the scuppers pulling off. We actually replaced the stairwell here when we put a door in, and we had a bad leak up. This is when you come, if you come into the building, you go around to the Turns Grill side. Okay, they replaced the stairwell there. Well, we didn't want to replace the stairwell, but what had happened, we had constant water leaking inside the building, and it was coming from right above where the stairs were there before, and it had never been flashed properly. We knew we had to tear everything off to get to where the leak was. We actually did that and resealed that part, but we didn't replace any of this. It was all near the doorway. Again, so now the next 4 or 5 slides are based on the use of the facility, the approach to the building. Again, these are all right out of the report. They're not my conclusions. They were conclusions at Becker Morgan. Approach to the building generally poor and unappealing. For whatever reason, we seem to have our buildings. This and at the yacht club, we walk when you first walk up to the facility, you walk up to the service area, the dumpsters, and same here. I'm not sure why or what that design was at some point. But it's just not appealing. Pro shops, poorly visible, exposure to public side. Again, it's the back side of the building underneath. You really don't know it's there unless you're looking for it. This is the stairwell I was telling you about. The scuppers, things pulling off the roof are up on this side. Just not a real strong design for us. Again, these are all appealing or non-appealing type of entities, nothing earth-shattering. Areas on the backside. Years ago, this was open on a deck area. This has now been covered. Very underutilized space. The heating and cooling in there is tough. We have the baseboard heating units in there. Tripping hazard when you step down, no matter where you come out of there. Okay, now they start to get into some of the mechanicals that are a little more concerning. Deficiencies noticed with the electrical and the components in there. This is abandoned Coleman control systems, no longer in use. This is water and condensation building up the evaporation units, the airflow that goes through there. Because of the different air temperatures, it starts to build up. We have a lot of condensate throughout the building. Here's another one inside one of the main areas on the second floor. This is not an unusual sight to see when the unit's running. It just doesn't circulate the air properly, and it's got this moisture buildup. That's why the building has the moldy smell when going, the old musty smell. It's had this for a number of years. Now we did have an inspection done in June, July timeframe. One of those 2 months. I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was June, where we had Hardy Environmental go out, because the last thing we could do is have people in a building that would make them sick. I mean, that was a concern when you have the musty smell. They went, we don't have a hazard from a sickness. They found that it was safe to be in the building. It's just, this is not unusual through the piping around the ductwork and everything. Some of the plumbing, some of the things you'll note here, you have some of the piping that right here, the white, some of it has the wrapping or the insulation on. Most of it doesn't. Over the years, we're changing of pipings and fittings and things. Insulation was not put back. Copy of some of the ductwork upstairs. This actually is dented in. Obviously, when the service folks were in to do it, I say obvious. Let's assume, I should say it's obvious, but it appears that was used as a step to get up to work on the units over here, and it's just not strong enough to hold the weight, so it buckles. Again, no insulation, different paint. You see the rust. It's an older building. I mean, we've got conditions there that are starting to fail. These are some of the conditions that we need to be concerned about as we move forward of what we're going to do with the facility. This is actually under one of the units. You know how under your AC, your condensing units, they have the pan to hold in moisture. This one's completely rusted out. There's ductwork, periodic spots, in the walls, ceilings, and floors where there's just no connections to it. Just over the years, as folks have been in and out, repairs or whatever they've been doing to it. There's an example of just open ductwork that blows in. Upstairs, on the roof of the facility, We have AC units, a heater units, some are connected, some aren't. This is just years of buying a unit, something breaks, you just put another one up. Something breaks, put another one up. They don't necessarily haven't been removing the old ones. So a lot of that that's up there. And then the condensing units are, you see the rust, they're worse on the other side, just starting to rust out. Just again, sign of the age of the facility and the equipment within the facility. Probably a little hard to see back there. Trust me, you don't want to be right on top of it and see it. It's just another shot of the mold that forms on the ductwork and everything from just the moisture. That's all up in the mechanical spaces. It's kind of the musty smell you end up hearing or smelling when you're in there. This is actually some of the wiring on the rooftop. Okay, this is all rusted out. See this gap here? The gap's not supposed to be there. That should be a tight fitting. So that's just where it's over the years has deteriorated and started to fall apart. This is not unusual, this type of wiring condition inside or outside of the building. There's a line on the roof as well. Again, you see the lines it's all broken up just after years of being there with it. This is all supposed to be solid so no water or condensation can get to the actual wiring inside. Some more of the fittings. This is supposed to be firmly fitted here. Okay. See, just over the years, it's starting to fail. You see where all the rust. This side, actually, this from up, it's actually up here and down. It looks like they tried to seal it at one point with some black roof tar. I guess it was leaking and cracking on that side of the piping. So they splattered it with that. I say they, I don't know who. I'd love to say it was this one or that one. You go back and try to look at some of the maintenance stuff. You know, we've had maintenance crews out from a number of different contractors out over 25, 30-year period working on the building. Rooftop condenser panel is starting to rust out. The bus panels, the electrical, and I should have another picture. There's some of the, all these are starting to rust and corrode. And this is one where this particular unit, you're not supposed to have this type of wiring. You know, someone at some point did a jump somewhere with it. They were trying to connect to something else. So that's been done. Now, I'm going to show you 3 or 4 of these pictures. There was a number of them that when we took the report, and I had our electrical guy go out and cap and cover and fix some of these. So some of this has already been repaired by our folks. Okay, just open wiring. This is supposed to have a cap on it. The jump's not supposed to be there where they've tried to tie this into something else. So they removed that. They capped it back off. We have a number of spots in there where that wiring was like that. But I just a couple of the guys went over and they spent a whole day and just fixed everywhere that they identified in the report from those caps and those loose wires. There's another one. Other wiring. Again, it's a safety hazard. This is where they've done work. They've screwed on the wire nut, but they've done it so many times somehow. The cap that's all supposed to be neatly tucked back in with a cover plate on it. It just prevents someone who has to end their work and may catch it on their sleeve or their arm and break it off and you got loose wiring, those type of things. Square D service panels in the kitchens. Breakers are not readily available. We have a lot of the old breaker units within the building for the electrical panels. Can't find a lot of the circuit breakers that go in. They're just old. Some of them, the GE ones were, sorry, I don't have the other picture of it. It's like 25, 30 years old, and you can't, they've been buying them when they can find them, but we're actually have to go to eBay to find some of those things to replace them. It's not something you go to electrical store and buy them off the shelf anymore. This is one of the units with the HVAC. Hard to get, you kind of have to climb and twist and tuck in to get to it. Wasn't in too bad a shape once they got to it, but it's a bear to get there. I actually climbed back to look at that. This is another one of those panels I was telling you about. Just the breakers themselves are just not readily available anymore. We've noted it, but the inspector actually put it in their report for us. Example of some of the things when you're climbing up and around, you're looking at it. You should not see wiring like this, all these different pieces, some things to pay attention to. These aren't even, they're just hanging off the ceiling. I mean, these type of things are supposed to be securely mounted. Over the years, folks have just run different type of conduit lines, different types of pieces, and you end up, a lot of this type of stuff throughout the infrastructure, the insides that most don't see until you look, behind the walls. Okay, Romax type Wiring that goes up, these are all above the ceiling, not approved for the type of application. So somewhere over the years, someone's been in there and done this type of work, and it's not supposed to be that way. I mean, it doesn't meet code. When they went, I don't know what they were patching, I don't know if they were running another unit to the roof, when they put the different units on. As it happens, instead of taking out the old, putting in the new, they don't do it, they just ran new wiring, new piping, new whatever. Okay, this is in the kitchen area, okay? As they added different units over the years, as different things have changed in the building, they just run a new pipe. Instead of taking the old one out and running the new one in its place, you notice there's multiple pipes that come in, and some of these pipes are actually supposed to go down so there's no backflow. Well, you see it doesn't do it, it just drops into the basin, whatever, from wherever it's coming from, what other elements it's coming from, it dumps, and hopefully it goes down. Okay, concealed beam, this is up. This area, okay, at some point a drop ceiling was put in. Well, when you do that, you're required a sprinkler. There's no sprinkled system up there. It's a condition that we need to take a look at and figure out what we're going to do. If you have a space with a drop like that, it's required to have sprinkler. It's also where the heat lines, the sprinklers, standpipe system, everything ties in. They just took some snapshots. It's all rusting around the edges. Again, everything's just old. Everything's just, from when you look into mechanicals, most or all are past their life expectancy by a number of years now. I mean, the conditions, we're looking at them, you can see. The conclusion map is the mechanicals, basically. Many of the systems have reached the end of their typical service life and have fallen into a state of disrepair. The numerous code violations need to be corrected, and any renovation is highly likely deficiencies will be uncovered. Once you start, anybody's done any major renovation, once you start, you typically find more. What's scratched on the surface, there's typically a lot more. Once you start getting to it, you find a lot more issues. So they just wanted to point that out to us. Recommend a complete replacement of all of the mechanicals, the HVAC, the plumbing. There's nothing there there's nothing there new enough that's worth saving. Their recommendation is complete replacement. This is estimates construction costs for new mechanical, which includes plumbing, heating. And they broke it down for us just so we had an idea of what it would cost. This is a little bit on the high side, but they did. We asked for estimates when you do it. They were, part of what they did was do some estimating for us for the replacement of some of these. The number represents top of the line building new. Basically, that's where they pulled these numbers for averages out of. What I said before I clicked it. So, utilizing the above numbers as a baseline for new construction, we believe a renovation of the similar quality would be 25% more than new construction. You have the takeout work and replacement versus if you just tear down and rebuild. They feel it's more economical. Recommend a full MEP systems replacement due to the age, condition, remaining lifespan of existing equipment. There are also possible savings related to better layouts, possible reduction in the piping, the usage, square footage, those type of things. Nothing there has the proper insulation. It's not, and the systems, even though the Windows systems just don't have the R factors as the newer ones do. So the efficiency of the equipment, the failure of the equipment, all lead up to why they're making this recommendation. Based on the desired, term of 35 to 40 years long term, they're feeling replacement of all those components is what their recommendation is. Renovates, if OPA determines renovation is best choice, then renovate completely, including correcting all codes. One of the things that comes up, folks say, well, we just need to fix this or just fix the different components. When you start to go that deep and you start to make those type of major repairs, then you have to bring the entire facility up to code, ADA, and any current building codes. The question comes in that's been asked, at what point do you trigger regular maintenance versus when you start to replace it, at what dollar figure? Talked to two different people today. The architect said it's a 50% of, when you go over 50% of existing value. Okay, so let's say for rough numbers, and I like easy math, let's say the building's worth $100,000. Okay, just easy math. If we spend more than 50, okay, then we have to bring the whole building up to compliance. ADA, all the code, everything current. You're not grandfathered in. When I talked to the county today, the county inspector told me anything over 20% could trigger, depending on what the issue, what the code violation or existing code condition would be, could trigger to have additional work needed. Okay, that was the physical conditions of the facility. I know I'm moving a little quick. I'm trying not to make this 2 or 3 hour meeting for anybody. So that was the current structure. You're welcome to take a look at any of the reports. The entire, we did the entire presentations online. You're welcome to come by the office and take a look at it. Operational now. So we at this point, we understand, we being myself, facility planning group, we understand the conditions, the structural conditions of the existing facility. That was our first thing. Task. Let's figure out what the current conditions are. That's all these reports. Now keep in mind, we didn't just use the Becker Morgan report. We have hindsight, kind of 2020. We're kind of like Monday morning quarterback. You can say what we should have done. We're able to use all the work that other, like the 10-year task force, Stevens Duke report. We're able to gather all that and the inspections they had done to build upon our conclusions of how to move forward. So it wasn't just this one report for this particular facility. We have a lot of background information we were able to look at and leverage that. Operational considerations. If we're looking at the facility, we've already determined the physical conditions. Now moving forward, what are operational considerations we should have before we make any type of recommendation? Parking considerations. Now this information, the next 2 slides are going to be directly out of the 10-year task force, their findings. Okay, and that, like I said, they spent 18, 19 months coming up with these conclusions. They met with small groups. They participated in activities with the community. So they made recommendations in writing of what we should consider as an association moving forward. So we thought, if we're going to make a recommendation, why not start with that as a baseline for us? No need to recreate it. Let's go back and look at it. Then we can decide if we agree or disagree with the findings from there before we make our recommendation. Parking considerations, 150 cars. Now again, you may or may not agree with all these. We're just telling you what the baseline for the prior group's conclusions were. Bag drop and starter shack. Cart staging area. Cart path behind the country club, cart barn and maintenance area, driveways and landscaping, food and beverage when it comes to golf. Readily accessible to golfers, in golf attire before, during, and after play. Other considerations, accessibility from other patrons. Someone may want to come have a sandwich, may come by a club, what have you. Bar that seats 24 and table seating of 50. Integration to full casual dining as long as it is reasonably separated and golfers' accessibility is maintained. Had to go back and read that one a couple of times. It was basically saying if there was another function going on at the facility, the golfers could still golf, maybe do the turn and turn grill and not necessarily impact the golf that was going on at the time. Everybody got that? I had to read it a couple of times and look at the report to make sure I knew. So. Drive-up snack shop, beverage area, again, golf-related. Multi-purpose space for meeting or small social events that would benefit a broader community instead of just focused on golf. Other considerations we looked at, country clubs should be downsized and or considered for other compatible uses. And what else would we be using the facility for? We have other groups that come in and use it now. Traffic flow concerns due to the relatively narrow streets you come down Clubhouse Drive there. It's not set up for a commercial use. It's a residential road. Drivers back into traffic on Clubhouse Drive. So when you have busy activity, even though when you first come into the parking, there's a whole row of cars for those that know that area that back out right into the parking or right into the drive, right past the front of the building there. So it does create. It's just not lined up. It's not designed well. The rebuild of the bridge on Country Club Drive. That will come up at some point in the near future. Our bridges were identified with some challenges and concerns. There's outside, we're working with the county now to get exactly. For some reason, everyone talks about an 80-20 report. The counties accepted the bridges into their group where they manage everything. I don't have a letter, and I'm looking for it. We're talking with the county. The gentleman that the source that we need to get directly from the county got married and was on his honeymoon this week, so we'll have that ironed out soon. But we need to figure that out because that will have an impact not only on cost to repair or redo the bridge, but whenever that does occur, there's disruption to get anybody to this particular facility. Reconstruction 10th and 18th holes will be needed to find with clubhouse rebuild. If we do a rebuild and we do any reconfiguration, they all should be considered. And what that is, again, this was not anything I had recommended. This was coming out of Stevens Stewart report. If you're going to redo that whole clubhouse area, you disrupt the flow from 10 to 18 to keep the golf open. That's what this report was referring to. Carry-away snack bar, lower level for the golf. Okay, they were conclusions that we had taken out of the prior reports, all the work that the 10-year task force, Stevens Duke, everything we could find. We took those in consideration before we made our recommendations moving forward. All right, so we know what the building looked like. We know the current conditions of the structure, facility-wise. Physical plant, we understand what we're dealing with there. Now we know what others that were tasked to come up with these type of reports, what they did from the 10-year task force, the time they spent, recommendations, considerations for the facility. We start looking at, we have all that knowledge. Now we're starting to look at the structure. Okay, here's the building, how it fits. This was the clubhouse drive I was talking about right here where the cars, see where it gets really narrow right through here. Clubhouse drive comes around this way an inch, so everybody has their point of reference there. So we start looking at this. Again, mapped it out a little different. This was working with Becker Morgan. They were giving me different, when you're looking at it, you want to separate the elements. These were conditions when they did the previous report, and I don't need to go in. These were just some snapshots. I showed you some closer views, but if you come up to look, the prior reports had all the similar conditions that we had identified with this most recent structural inspection. They had similar ones. So it wasn't anything new. Same roof, just some different angles, different things they picked up. We looked at the current layout of the facility. Okay, so we understood structurally and where it sat on the plat. That's where we start coming up with the conceptual for the new design. We know the current plant. Our feeling was, after looking at that, after redoing all the material, our conclusion was replacement. To go through and try to bring it up to speed at the cost, it seemed like a waste or not a good way to spend your money. You're trying to bring something that's in very, very poor condition up to speed. The best way I can tell you, or the best way I look at it, you got a 30-year-old car and you're trying to put all new parts on it. At some point you have to say, okay, it's done. I'm done spending the money on it. It's time to get on to something new. I think that's where we are here. I think that's where we are with both our structures. Conceptual design. We took some elements. We're trying to be cautious. And one of the things that I've heard a lot of people say, oh, it's a Taj Mahal. You went and built the Taj Mahal. I could argue that all day with anybody, but those that feel that strongly about it, I'm not going to be able to turn them around on them. We actually, when we came up with our concept, we're very, very conscious not to be too big, not to do anything that was remotely, like we're trying to be grand with this. Our first thing that we looked at, golf. Okay, if we're going to be serious about getting back to golf, and our course is one of the most challenging courses in the area. The difficulty we have with it's just not in the condition. The product, the golf experience just is not there right now. We recognize that, but we also recognize if we're able to get that into the right condition where people want to come and play, the thing from a clubhouse standpoint, we need to be able to support golf play, which includes tournaments. So when we looked at our structure, the design of the structure, and folks say, oh, you went too big. Our starting point was how many people would come to a golf tournament? We don't want to be bigger than that. So full golf tournament, 18-hole golf course, is approximately 144 golfers. If you have a max tournament completely full, it's 144. That was our starting point. We plussed up to about 160 because folks that may golf, their significant other may not. and you may always have guests that come after the fact to the dinner or come as a speaker or those type of things. So we went to the 150, 160 range in our thought process for that many people we need to see in this facility. Now, when folks look at that and they go, "Oh, wait a minute, that's not," think about it. 160, the golf outing's 144. I don't think we were reaching too far when we designed it. We were trying to be extremely reasonable and only make it to the size we need to support the primary function of this structure. Primary function's golf. It would be misleading to say, "Oh, it's primary a catering facility or primary." No, our primary and highest best use for this facility is golf. That's where we have the opportunity to have the most revenue to offset the cost of running. And the plus side of that, it does create, because golf, you're not golfing all winter long, you don't have tournaments during the winter, it creates space that can be utilized by other parts of the community, which I think is a wide thing. That's taking advantage of space for the broader use for the community. Everybody with me so far? I'm not putting anybody to sleep. We're not as encouraged or to come at the end with questions on it. All right, let's go through the space. Just give it, and they're up here. You're welcome to look at them when we're done. I'll talk to you in greater detail. I know, especially in the back, it's hard to see up here. But just from a visual, just to understand what we're doing. Okay, parking lot's over here. Okay, you come into the front of the building. Now, what we're doing here, something that we took in consideration, when you come in now, you come right into a foyer area. You have a choice, upstairs or downstairs. Terribly inconvenient. Okay, ADA issues. We've got the lift, but it's not a great setup. But we have with our design, when you come into that first floor, you're on the first floor of the structure. I say first floor. There's a lower floor, but I'm going to say first because you're walking up the slope from the hill and you're right in. That's where the main part of this structure is. Come into the facility, okay? You have straight back. Let's start with the red because that's the area that seems to draw the most attention. This is where, if you come straight in, main dining, okay? And on this side happens to be the bar area, the turns grill type area that we have now. Now it's designed in a way, you see a line here and a line here with a little bump out on each. It's designed to be able to have the folding wall components so you can separate 1, 2, 3 spaces or have it all the way open. Primary focus of that, you have it all the way open when you have a golf tournament. Big thing with a lot of the golf tournaments, you notice the porch that's on this side of the structure, we have glass that opens up all the way around here, so you actually end up having a nice big space for any type of function you want to have. You can close it down to have smaller functions, smaller opportunities for the community to use it in other ways. We have folks that say, "Oh, well, wait, you're trying to focus on bringing too many people in from the outside." That was a real big thing, which was really surprising to me when I was talking about catering last week with the yacht club. And I say it's surprising, it's only because folks didn't realize. Over 80% of our catered activities, okay, are from Ocean Pines residents. Over 80%. Pretty astounding when folks say, "Oh, we don't want to bring those. Why should we build it?" When I'm talking about going after catering, and trust me, catering could impact this facility and the yacht club and the beach club. It's not because we want to draw to Ocean City and have them come catering with us. We have a large population, a large group of our residents that want to utilize our facilities. They want to take advantage of our facilities within our gates. So when we're talking about catering opportunities, this structure, along with the yacht club, is designed to take advantage of the facilities for the use of our membership. That's the primary use for it. Now, I'll tell you, if we have 20, 25% that come from outside, why is that such a bad thing? If it offsets our costs, which means we're operating more efficiently, which means we keep a lower assessment. Not a bad thing, folks. And I think I missed it the other night. Every time I do one of these meetings, I sit back and take a lot of notes afterwards to see what I could have said differently or what I may not have articulated well enough. It was probably the biggest thing coming out of Yacht Club meeting. There seemed to be a lot of animosity around catering. And I think the intent or the thought was it was catering from an outside. It's not outside, folks. It's 80. And I'll tell you the number's slightly higher. We're trying to narrow down exact figures when you look at some of the weddings. Okay, there were a number of weddings that we looked at, and I just don't know if the folks were Ocean Pines residents that, it was their family that was doing it, or if it was someone from the outside. So we peeled those out, and that's why I used 80. I'm probably going to tell you the number's going to be closer to 85 or 90 when we're able to look at those weddings. I'm guessing a lot of those are either residents or parents. They have their kids, have their wedding here. And the number will go up. But I'm sure it's above 80 because we pulled the wedding part out. Pretty good when you're looking at utilization of the facilities. These are things we thought about when we're looking at this facility. If we're going to do it, it's unrealistic to think, build it and then have it set for 4 or 5 months when it's cold and never utilize. No, we have many, many other residents that should have access to use this type of facility. It's designed to take advantage of that. So we have the dining area here, kitchen area to one side. This is the pro shop. When you come in, you go to the right. The reason the pro shop's on this side of the building, remember the parking lot's over here, up here is the driving range. Right over here is where the starting block is. So the pro shop can actually operate efficiently and look right out and see what's happening with the starter. It's a good. The design is solid from a golf flow. Downstairs is where I drew some fire. Oh, he's trying to put the facility, the carts. Anyone, and I know a couple of you in the room I've seen. Please, if you haven't seen it, take the opportunity to overlook at our cart building. Just walk it. You would be appalled at some of the conditions over there. Okay? When you walk through the building, we have $100,000 worth of carts we bought, by the way, a couple years back. You can literally see through holes in the wall. If you can see through, that means elements get in. If you look at the wiring, the structure, everything in there is old and deteriorated. You walk up and jiggle the bottom in some of the areas, and the wall falls apart in your hand. To me, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So when we're looking at a new structure, if you look at some of the newer designs with the structures, putting the carts in the same building means we will not have to replace a building in the future. It becomes part of the same structure. Very cost efficient. If you do the downstairs, and this is an element where they've done the strengthened concrete. I mean, it's just concrete with beams, and it's like a parking garage, is really what it ends up being. It makes sense, and we can get rid of the other structure that we're going to have to replace in a couple of years anyway. And by the way, we're protecting our investment on our carts. If you see some of the chargers and the wiring over there, again, we've got some dated facilities that need attention. So we tried to, when we're looking at, with each of the facilities we looked at, okay? And this wasn't just done with the Yacht Club and Country Club. Some of the other things that we did, we said in June, we put us on a path with 3 categories, 0 to 2, 2 to 5, and 5 years and beyond. We looked at all of our structures, everything that Ocean Pines owns. We looked at the tennis courts. We looked at the golf. We looked at any shed, the 2 sheds out here we looked at. Anything we had, we put on our major list of what, from a structural standpoint, of things that we need to be aware of, what's coming up, and what we may have to replace in the future. And when we did that, we were able to basically pair them off and put them in the different categories. Well, the golf barn is something that's going to be replaced at some point. Okay? When you go through and you look in that great detail, that's why when we put the concept together, incorporating in one now made a lot of sense to us. Protect our investment. We know we're going to have to spend the money anyway. It's more economical just to put it in the same facility. Anyway, so that was the thought process there. Again, with this side of the structure being the starting box, you notice a small office and a snack bar right on the first floor, or on the ground floor, I should say. And that's because when you come around from the holes, you're able to grab your snack and keep moving. The back half, so if you come into the structure, okay, if you come from the parking lot, you come in, there's a stairway. Takes you downstairs. We have changing rooms, dressing rooms, male, female, okay? We have right in this area, and I know it's hard to see, and you're able to see it on the chart over here, we've actually put card room in there. Now, the thing that we did with the card room that was different, when I say card room, the one we have now, and I know some of the golfers didn't like me for this, but it's right adjacent to the men's room. The men's locker room is bigger than the women's for the golf side. The women have a smaller room, and you could call it a card room, but they have a separate type of space. What this is basically down the corridor of the hall, so you can come out of the men's or women's room and go in and use in the hallway. Anyone can use that space for any activity. Again, we try to think of design that can be utilized by multiple people, not just one particular group. We think it's important. If we're going to do something like this, it has to meet a broader spectrum of the community. It can't just be boom. It has to be thought out. But we have to keep our focus on the primary reason we have to do it is support the golf fund. I know that some people don't like that, but we have a golf course. This type of facility supports the golf. So that's the bottom floor structure. We took elements from a number of courses. We took elements from a number of designs to get to this. It worked for us. It covered a number of different things. We think replacement, that's what we brought to the board and said, here's something that we feel meets the needs of the community, and here's our reasoning why. Also notice with the structure of the facility, okay, the structure right now, this is the front, okay, is actually right here. Everybody see that? We've taken the facility, just so, here's the road coming in, forget this right now, the road coming in, the building's here now. We've rotated the building, okay, and the purpose of it is to create a front entrance so you're not coming into the element of a dumpster. I mean, just moving, and again, it's just a slight, if we go to rebuild, we're in the same footprint, we can rotate the building, which just takes advantage of the views. It just makes so much more sense when you're looking at from the aesthetics of people coming to use the facility. There's a picture of it. From the picture of it, oh my goodness, Taj Mahal, huge, but it's really not that big. I use that because I've had 3 or 4 people call me really mad at me, and that's what they use. First, the colors. They're not hard and fast. I don't care what color we do. I didn't pick the color. Brown was the typical roof color. I told them put a white or gray on the walls, knowing that we'll argue about it and figure out what we're going to do. It's a blue roof, it's a red roof, it's a green roof. I don't care. Here it is for visuals so we know from a concept of what we're recommending. The reason the element's cut out this way, this is the side where the golf course is, okay? This is the back half. That's the second floor. This wall here, okay, is actually the wall to the cart storage, okay? Just so everybody knows. And people say, oh, you can't do that. The level, our building's actually set up just about perfect. We already have a split level design. We already have a lower and upper. We just need to elevate the first floor or the top floor slightly more. We can take advantage of this and have exactly that. It's just the elements work. This was the area I told you was glass frontage. And again, he didn't put every window in. We haven't gotten to that point. A concept, we had to have somewhere a structure, a facility, size, shape to get an idea to start the dialogue. And that's where we are. We saw the bottom half, if you recall, right now, this area here, if you cut a box right here, okay, is sort of where you walk under, you're under the patio area now. We envision that as being open, more of a terrace area for folks. Just, it makes the space more efficient. You don't have to heat it, cool it, and it's open to take advantage of watching 10th and 18th hole. Cart's coming out, little cart you put there. Cart comes in this side, comes straight through, charges up wherever it needs to, comes out this side for the start. Top down view. Again, a lot of people are visual, so I kind of start to rotate this a little bit. Again, golf side, parking lot side over here. When you come in the front door, if you're looking down, this area here is where the pro shop is. This area of the building upstairs is the dining. Down here, the cart barn that comes out. Right here happens to be the snack shack. I see your hand going up and down. I'll answer anything. I was trying to wait.
If the locker rooms are downstairs, how do you get from the locker rooms out to play golf?
Hang on. I'll show you. Yeah. Element from the golf course side. Other side. Okay. Hallway, this goes right in down to the locker room side. You park your car up here, so you have the option to come down here or come in and come down. You have this, you walk right down the hall to get to your car. It's accessible from both sides.
Quick question. How do you get from the second floor down to the
Stairwell.
Oh, there's a stairwell there?
Yeah.
Okay. Outside or inside?
Inside.
Okay.
But you can walk just like you do now to the building. You can go to either side and walk down. We're still going to have the slope. So you can do it from there, or through the building and down the stairs.
Gotcha.
Okay, there's a better view of it. Inside the car barn area, This side is where the starting shack is. The far side is where you'd be finishing to come in. Again, he cut it just as architect, they're able to spin it and place it just to make it look cool. So there's the starter side. There's the side when you come in, you pull up to the facility. The reason I think that's important, as nice as it looks, okay, it's a pretty basic design. I mean, if you look at that, we don't have any real strong elements to go, this is a terribly expensive structure. I mean, it really isn't. We took advantage of a couple elements just to give it a little curb appeal, but it's a clean design, simple, easy, inviting, something, hopefully maintenance, I don't want to say maintenance free, nothing's free, but much easier on our maintenance. Part of the plan that we have, and I'll talk about that because I don't have a separate slide for it. One of the things that we're looking at right now is getting some sort of facility engineer. I use that term loosely because it could be named a couple of different, the position could be named anyway. When Kerry Nelson left, okay, who was our head of our public works, we elevated Eddie Wells. He was his right-hand man. Eddie's doing a fantastic job. I purposely did not fill that extra position. Well, it was by design. My intent is to utilize it differently. One of the things we have not done as an association is maintain our facilities, I believe, at a level that we should have, for whatever reason. Okay, I'm not blaming or faulting anybody. It just hasn't happened. What my goal is to hire someone with facility background that understands facilities, maintenance plans, that can help us. And that includes all our infrastructure, our roads. We have a roads plan maintained by Public Works. We have to work hand in hand with the county on it. But it's something, those type of elements to include the maintenance on our facilities. You know, if someone goes in and do repair work to one of our facilities, we should have someone checking on them to make sure they didn't leave the debris. We don't see the wire hanging, those type of we just need to do better at that. And we just hadn't focused on it over the years. If we're looking at any of the new structures, you know, my intent is to have the position, and I'm talking to some folks now about potentially filling the position. So we already have the position available. It's just redesigning their focus to make sure we take care of some of these things. So we don't find ourselves 25, 35 years from now going, oh, we didn't take care of the facility again. I mean, I just can't imagine doing that. So we're going to make sure if we're asking anybody to look at any of these facilities, we also have a plan to take care and maintain the facilities. I think it's critical. Okay, how will we fund the facilities? This is where controversy just bounces everywhere. Okay. What I was tasked to do, and I have a strong financial background, so it wasn't terribly hard for me, was look at other ways other than asking all our residents to bear the cost through an assessment increase with all of our infrastructure. So we start looking at other options, other ways that we can find this facility, other facilities. A lot of ways out there. Let's talk about the space. Current structure, okay, for the country club. This includes, notice I told you 14 and change earlier. For the structure itself, it's bumped up to 19. It's because I'm also recommending we replace the cart barn, do it now, include it in the facility, so you have to take all that square footage when you're trying to compare apples to apples. New concept, facility is 1,700, 140, so almost 2,000 square feet smaller in total square footage of the two facilities combined. If you use an average per price, now, when I put the numbers up, anyone was here last week, go, whoa, your number's a little bit lower than you did at the yacht club. I know it is. It's by design. Okay, this isn't on the water. We don't have the pilings. We don't have some of the same level of issues. But we figured 200. The structure you're sitting in now cost us to build 137 square foot. Just a benchmark. I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent, just where it is. So we felt 200 was probably a good estimate of what conditions are structure-wise. So if you take the 200 times this 1,700, it's 3.4 million. Big number. Okay? That's where our 3.4 million came up for the facility. The other reason that one's higher when you're comparing the yacht club, this facility is bigger than the yacht club, but it's also including basically a parking garage for the cars. Let's look at cost to build the building, $3.4 million. I came up with a concept to redo the road, and I'm going to show you that next, but I want to show you in this slide I take into consideration the money to do the infrastructure of the new road. Total project's 3.8 million. Again, we can't take that lightly. That's a heck of a lot of money. Okay, recognize that, especially when we're looking at competing elements. Yacht club, roads, bridges. There's a lot of structures here we need to start paying more attention to. So I realize these are big numbers, but I had to take a realistic approach to what we're going to do with the facility and how we're going to use it, and use it not just with one activity, but multiple activities. Okay, I came up with a potential solution. If anyone owns one of the lots on Clubhouse Drive, do not hit me with a stick tonight. I've been yelled at enough about it, okay? I'm coming up with options. Board hasn't approved it. We're nowhere near pulling the trigger on it. I'm coming up with potential solutions of ways that we could fund the project so it
Excuse me,
doesn't...
can I just say something?
Yes, ma'am.
My home is my sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right here at 91 Clubhouse Drive.
Okay.
Okay. I have a beautiful view. I bought this house for the peace and serenity and for the view.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told nothing was ever going to build on that side. Now you want to take that whole canal, ruin the aesthetics of it, put 10 lots there to fund that building. I'm not opposed to funding a building, but not at the expense of my sanctuary. I'm sure you wouldn't like your sanctuary disrupted either.
Okay.
Okay? So that's my personal opinion.
Understood. I understand everyone on that street's going to be upset, or the majority are. I got it. I'm not trying to be curt or flippant about it. I'm coming up with
Yeah,
potential...
why should that be at my expense and everybody in this area's expense?
Again, the golf
Just
course...
for the luxury of you putting a new building up there. That's my serenity and my sanctuary. I've lived there for 17 years.
Okay.
And now you're going to make me think about selling it, and I'm not going to care who I'm going to sell it to if you're not going to care about putting up those things, selling those lots.
Not only that, what are the chances of these lots selling for that amount? I mean, have you had your head in the sand? Don't you realize
careful,
how
ma'am.
many
That-
people are
you
out of
don't need to
work?
be rude about it. Let me continue. I'll show you
But I
where my
mean,
head
you
is.
can go on
Hang on.
Zillow.com.
Allow me to finish. I know it's going to be heated, okay? But when you say head in the sand, we're talking about this is an option, okay? Not one the board's approved, and I'm certainly not going to be offensive.
I don't believe it's going to be voted in, I'll tell you
And
that.
ma'am, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm coming up with potential solutions for some of the failing structures we have. Not everyone's going to like it.
And I would like to ask you one thing, and this
Yes,
is not about the country club, it's about the yacht club. Why in the world did they put all that money about a year and a half ago into the yacht club when they tell me now that the structure foundation structures, you can put your fist through it, it's so bad. That didn't happen overnight. That existed when they did all that improvements to the yacht club. Why throw over $1 billion away when you could have used that money to build a new yacht club? Tell me why they ever did that.
Well,
Gentlemen,
what I would ask,
finish the presentation.
I'll stay after and answer that. I answered it with the yacht club discussion, but I'll be
I
happy
wasn't here.
Okay, but let me stick to the country club for now. And Saturday I will go in great detail. I've been over that several times, so I'm not trying to dodge it. Let me finish this. I think it may answer. Again, I know not everyone's going to be happy about this. I got it, okay? I'm going to keep coming up with solutions, and I will continue to do that while I'm in this role. Some are going to like it, some aren't. One thing you're not going to do is stop me from coming up with ideas or solutions, because I don't work for 10 people or 20 people. I have 8,442 property owners that are the shareholders of the organization. I will continue to come up with ideas of ways to make what I feel the community better and stronger. The board ultimately has the decision to say, Bob, we like it, we don't like it, move in a different direction. But I think it's important that I keep at least trying to come up with potential solutions. Okay? Not trying to slight anyone on Clubhouse Drive, just there were some options that we had, okay?
Are all these things going to come up for referendum?
Ma'am, anything at this level would be referendum. Yes, ma'am. Okay, 10 waterfront lots. At the sale price, okay, or at the I say sale price, at the money we believe we can net from the sale of those properties, ends up with $1.778 or $1.8 million that needed to be funded. Reserves, take some of the money out of reserves and borrow the rest. again, the board had put me on the task, don't tack everything on the back of all the residents reserve-wise. Look at other options. So what I tried to do is look at all different funding solutions, borrowing power, having property we could sell, a multitude of ways to finance the structures. Here are the lots. I know some folks are really passionate about this. Okay, it's on the board. But basically, we will need, at some point in the near future, we're going to have to replace the bridge. There's some major work to the bridge, which means we need to create an element or access to the folks that live all back in this area. And that's going to be somewhere through here. There's limited option other than building another bridge somewhere else temporarily to do this, and that's not reasonable. So we're going to have a disruption here. That's what started the process of thinking, wait a minute, we have property here we might be able to take advantage of. That's where this potential roadway comes in. We're going to have to do it sooner or later anyway. We're going to have to grant access. We're going to have to do something there to get access when we do the repair work. Potential lot. And ma'am, this is where my numbers came from, just so you know. I don't just throw things out there. I really tried to do some research on it. Lots, these were lot sales. Okay, now these are 3 months old now. I guess the most recent data was 3 months old because that's when I put everything together. But these were lot sales. The reason top and bottom are red. Anytime when I try to do an average, I always take the very lowest and highest and throw it out. And I average the rest of the lots. These were actually $5 million divided by the 15 remaining, 376. I think it's reasonable when I'm saying we would end up with 200,000. Most recent lot sales that occurred, okay, up to that point, averaged these three prices, averaging 389 to 390,000. Now, are things moving quickly? They're not. We all know real estate's down. These are recent lot listings and sales. Okay, so I did my homework. I got the information when I made the recommendation. 10 lots, 389 would be 3.8 or 3.9 million if we use the higher number. Lots sold at 376, 3.7. I think I was conservative in my estimate at 200,000. Okay, it's almost half of what has recently listed or sold. I really tried to be conservative on the number. Second thing is we don't have to do 10 lots. We don't have to do all the lots. And we don't have to sell all the lots. I mean, these are options that we think are available to us for a potential way to reduce the burden on the entire community if we do a project like this. Borrowing, these were some funding. Again, I pulled multiple things. When you look at what some of the borrowing power, what some of the rates would be right now, and I try to break it down into $500,000 increments. Again, we don't know what the final number is, so I did it to see what our cost would be, monthly payments if we're on a payment schedule. Some assumptions here, borrowing at 5% interest rate, interest-only loans. Okay, for this our type of situation, we could do an IO or interest-only product. You can also do a 20-year AM. I mean, we would have that, or 10-year, 15-year, 20, up to 20 on commercial. Monthly or quarterly payments, no prepayment penalties. We would need to have 25% into the project. There's some things that, when you're looking at some purchasing power. 75% loan to value, so you have to have 25% in. Question.
Oh, gee,
I try to make it light.
That's like me up there.
All right. All right, I told you, I'd get to the end, not too hard. Now, I expect to have tough questions. That's why I put the little baby. Just so you know, you see the little shirt he's wearing? Ocean Pine shirt. We're selling shirts.
Making it profit.
Trust me, I feel like that many days. I'm not going to lie. Okay. All right, now let's talk about it. We'll talk about anything I wrote out. Yes, sir.
So the new building is going to increase golf revenues?
Will the new building increase
I mean,
golf?
if you're going to try to sell it in the referendum for people who aren't golfers.
Well, here's what I'll tell you about that. The board recently approved a golf green project. Everybody aware of that? Yes. Okay. I know some folks, again, pros and cons, especially a community of our size, people are going to say good, bad, or indifferent. The building's irrelevant if we don't have a product to sell. We could build a Taj Mahal, put gold-plated sinks and fixtures in, but if we don't have a product to sell, the golf product, we're not going to be able to use it. We get no value out of it. So to answer your question, we firmly believe having the product, i.e. the greens, are going to bring people back to using our golf course. Our numbers through May, June, and July, we were well ahead. Our numbers were higher than we had anticipated when our greens were in great condition. When our course started to falter, okay, July, August, September, we fell behind. Net result, we're still ahead of what we expected, number-wise, which is good, despite the failure in the course. So yes, we believe. Now, understand, I've said about the yacht club as well, the facility does not drive the revenue, either here, okay, or at the yacht club. It's not going to be the facility, it's the product and service we offer. So yes, I believe the combination of the greens with the structure that'll hold, i.e. Some things that are very, from a money standpoint, when you're looking at driving dollars, the functions, the golf outings. Make a lot of money on those. People like to come and do those type of things. I do believe golf will offset the cost.
Can
Yes,
I follow up, Mr. Thompson? Please?
yes, sir. Please call me Bob, please.
Scuttlebutt going around, everybody's trying to wonder why you're doing this at the same time, these two.
Good question.
I mean, it doesn't seem like the right thing to do.
Okay, good.
It's just making it harder for any of them to pass.
All right, get his name. That's probably the best question, okay? Because here, I'm not saying we're doing both. The board challenged me, okay, to find a way, look at our facilities, identify the issues, and come up with potential, what should we do with them, and how should we move forward? It's going to be up to the board to decide. We do one, we do both, we don't do either. Now, when I say the board to decide, you know who's next. You all. Board will make a decision of what to do next, the recommendation, let's go down this path, which may be the yacht club, this path of the country club, or both. The next step, we then finalize our numbers and send it to referendum, and then you all decide if we're going to do one, both, or either. That's the neat part. It's ultimately going to be in your hands. My challenge was come up with the two structures, figure out what the issues are, and make recommendations so the board can make a determination. They may not like either. Ultimately, they may look at it and go, we don't like either design, do over. Start over, focus on this, focus on that. So there's nothing set in stone at this point. Okay? Yes, sir.
I'll be limited. But looking at
You said that the other night. You weren't.
It wasn't last night. I'll give remember the floor of it later on.
Fair enough. Would you guys say your name so everybody knows, just so we can track it?
Sheridan. The numbers you had up there for the size of the,
Would you stand up, Mr. Sheridan, so others? Yeah.
I'm an old man. So,
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to lean on you if I fall. Based on your numbers up there, we have $100,000 in golf carts.
Yes, sir.
And looking at the structure, we have about half of the basement for golf carts.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the cost and take 25% of that structure cost, period. We're spending $900,000 on saving $100,000 in golf carts.
Okay.
But no. One other thing. Whoa.
Don't
The
fall
Greens
over.
contract, is that available for review?
It hasn't been executed yet. Green's contract has not been executed yet. The board approved for us to engage in Green's contract. Once they approved it, I've been getting bids from, I think I'm up to 7 companies now, have reviewed them all. I have a spreadsheet that I've put together, and I'm going to be presenting that to the board for final approval.
Okay. And one last one. The RFP you sent out.
Yes, sir.
Did you send specs with that and drawings, or for the yacht club, or the?
We didn't send specs out. Well, the request for proposal was for the work that we're requesting they come in and take a look at. We gave them a very detailed, here's what we want you to come and review for us. All the mechanical, structural. Fortunately, I don't know if you know Ted Maroney. Ted, many people in the room probably do. Ted was on the 10-year task force. He's helping me on the facility planning group. That's his thing. He's very good with that. Between him and the contract review team, getting the RFP put together, so we made sure we asked for what we wanted, worked out.
So we do have some kind of spec that went out that they're bidding on. For what?
Well, no. I'm sorry, Mr. Sheridan. I'm sorry. We're not bidding. Just for everyone to know, there's no bid out There's no bid for work or anything. The RFP was for the structural evaluation of each facility. We have not gotten to that next level to bid these projects. We're not there yet. These are conceptual in design. One of the things, a great example, Yacht Club, big pushback that we're getting right now is with the two-story structure, the openness downstairs. What happens if folks want to come to dinner? Okay, now the upstairs, the second floor has seating for 200. What happens if we have a wedding upstairs for 200? Then, and we have to sit outside in the heat. My initial answer was yes, you're at the beach. But I'll tell you, I've been beat down to a point where we're going to figure something out on the first floor. It may end up being a 3-season type structure where you have the glass sliding doors so we can control the element for exactly that. But that's why we're having these discussions, so we can figure out what makes sense for the community. So everything that you're looking at so far is conceptual in nature. We have not put the specs out. We haven't gotten that far yet.
One more and then I'll yield. Timeline, do you have a timeline for all this stuff?
Ooh, I do. I don't know that I want to say it. It depends if we're going to do one or both projects. Okay. If we do one project, timeline for me would be to move forward with the design concept to get a full design so we can go to a bid, so we can get an estimate. From there, it would put us April, May, June timeframe window. Again, this is assuming the board says yes, move with a or both projects. So we could potentially do a referendum late spring, early summer. From there, referendum, 45 days, do the count, all the rules that apply with that, get the final, whatever you folks decide, then we either move forward or not.
One or both?
That's what the board decides.
Okay. Well, thought I'd ask the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I know what I would do, but I'm not the board, so. Other questions?
What if nobody says something, Judge?
Hi, Judge.
No,
Don't fall over.
Here, I got a book. I just picked that up. Ocean Pine is a private resort community on the eastern shore. That's a book you got later.
A mission statement.
All right? I came here, I moved in. The real estate said we got everything. Only for the people of Ocean Pine. You pay for it. The people, money goes to the yacht club or money goes to the golf course, everything. You living off the people of Worcester County, they got a free thing. We stupid people paying for them. That's what I cannot get to my mind.
Okay.
And it's ridiculous what we people do here. There was promised us last year, when you all was talking about the yacht club, the golf course, and what it is. Referendum. Why we don't got a referendum on the golf course? You people know by heart, everyone on the board know that the people was not going to vote for it. That would be turned out. So what do? You got that $1.6 million. What I told you many times, it has to be cut back. You're going to spend $900,000 this year, $900,000 next year. You keep spending till you people got what you want without us voting on. And that is a mistake. The same thing is going to happen with the yacht club and what you just promised. The people are not going to vote for it. What are you all going to do? Every year $1 million on the yacht club, buddy. $1 million here. And you keep building up the way you got to keep us out. We got people on the board starting 4 years behind the desk. And now they're on the board. I know what I have to do with the yacht club. I know what to do with the food business. I know what to do with the country club. They know everything. I live in a $200,000 home, not in a $1 million home. I don't got $1 million income, but I get them a time of paying for the people outside. If the people in Ocean Pine don't want to have a golf course, we only got 300 members, close the thing. The yacht club, the same thing too. Bob, you can put $10 million in the yacht club. You're not going to pull the people in. The people are not coming. We sat down, we talked about it. You know that. I come to your office. The same thing with that thing for the golf course. I cannot see that you're going to put another thing. You got nobody in the yacht club. it's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous what goes on. Everybody is cutting back in the United States, except Ocean Pine. That's not going to bring us $1 more. And I'm going to do my best. There's some board members that have to go. They're killing those people. The same thing with the golf course, what I told you last meeting. These people stuck us a knife in the back. That was a filthy trick. We're supposed to have vote on it. That was brought up last year.
Thank you. A couple of the items that Dutch spoke about, 900,000 this year, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there's anything I lied, and 900 next year. The golf course project that was approved, okay, is approved for the greens, okay? Again, and I know it's focused at the board, but I'll tell you this, I couldn't tell you how important it was to do that project. I know a lot of people are going to go, you're wrong. No, I can tell you golf was up when our greens were in good condition. Okay, we need to have a product to sell. Second part of that, the 900,000, which Dutch is correct about, is for all 18 greens. And here's what, again, unique financing solution. Some people like it, some don't. I'm going to keep bringing ideas. We came up with a lifetime membership option. That lifetime membership option basically says the board's going to fund for 9 greens. The golf community will fund the other through a lifetime membership option. So what that actually does is relieve, to Dutch's point, it relieves some of that stress, say the entire community is paying for, you use the term 300 golfers. Let me clarify that as well. First, the entire community doesn't because our golfers are stepping up. We've had several say, yes, we're very interested in lifetime membership. It's been very positively received. A big part of that was what type of commitment we're going to have to the course. Hard to ask people to commit their cash to something if we're not going to take the right steps to get the product in good condition. So that has occurred. Second part of that, okay, the board making that commitment to get half of it. We're going to try to have 9 greens done by this summer so we can take advantage of the summer sales season and certainly the fall sales season. And then wait to do the other 9 until the winter into the spring, similar to this time of year, so we can take advantage of getting as much income rolling in. If we don't, the other thing with the yacht club that I want to make sure I mention, our yacht club revenues, by the investments we made, the focus we made with the new menu items, the focus on the conditions, the focus on service, again, is it where we need to be? Absolutely not. But I can tell you where it is. We had food sales, okay, that were higher than they'd ever been in our history. We had beverage sales higher than they had ever been in our history. Okay, what that proved to me, and Dutch, I know we've had some strong discussions about it, but what that proved is our membership not only wants to, but is willing to come back and try the facility. You guys own it. I mean, it's something that it's part of your membership, part of what you own when you buy into Ocean Pines. We proved with that beyond a shadow of a doubt, people are willing to come back and give us a try at the facilities. That's why our numbers went through the roof. What we didn't do well at the yacht club in particular, and I'll get back to the country club, what we didn't do well was manage our labor costs and our food costs. Everything else, we started to hit the numbers and then some. We didn't do well there. We've made adjustments. We're making the necessary adjustments, so we think we can make improvements this year on those, which will close that gap. So hopefully we end up not only breaking even, but it'd be nice to end up in a positive. Same thing's going to happen in golf, and I firmly believe it, whether we do this facility or not. By the investment in the greens, which will, and when you said 300 members is a correct number. 303 is the actual numbers of people that pay as members of the golf course. We actually have somewhere between 1,500 and 1,600 non-member Ocean Pines residents that actually use the course. So if you take the 15 plus the 3, you're at 1,800. Arguably, some will say upwards of 2,000. I kind of come down a little bit because I can't confirm it for sure. I can tell you we have at least 1,500 non-member residents that use the golf course. We track it. Track it. Everything we're doing now, which is something that we had not done in as great a detail, we're tracking this in great detail. How else do we know where we are and where we're heading if we don't track where we've been? So we are. So I would argue and tell you that in both facilities, we're on a path with both to at least get to a break-even state with the operational side. And it'd be really great to get to a profitable side, which is my personal goal. But as one of the past board members articulated last week, we're not here to make money. We're here to have amenities at work that break even. Okay, I accept it. I'm just going to get to the other side of that just so we don't have these discussions that we're wasting money. Last thing I like to do is waste money or spend other people's money.
Well, I have not to say one thing. It is not a personal thing to you, but I will say this. If you give us a chance with a referendum to vote on it, and the people vote yes for the yacht club, the people vote yes for the golf course, I go along with it. But I cannot see that we have 7 people sitting there and making a decision over $7-8 million. That's ridiculous. It's not, I forgot to say how many, but it's not a personal question that I want to nail you or something.
Understood.
But all we people are struggling today.
All the
Hey,
major.
we're not millionaires. Some people think everybody's a millionaire in Ocean Pine. We're not. So that's the only thing I want to say to you. Okay, it's not a personal thing again.
I can assure you, the board is very much aware of, and referendums for the 2 facilities there's no question that there'll be a referendum. And I had this one, I'll come right back to you, sir. His hand was up and stopped when Dutch did back up.
As someone that has been frequenting the yacht club for the last 15 years on a regular basis,
Yes, sir.
I can attest to the fact that this has been the best year ever to hang out there. Customers that come in are all looking at each other and saying, this is great, this is wonderful. And you're getting a lot of the credit. Ms. Travatello is getting a lot of the credit. And I can attest to the fact that we're on the right track.
Thank you.
And actually, I'm sad to see it close during the winter, but I know what you got to do. But you
We
guys
may
are on
change
the right
that
track.
next year. We're still making changes. But yeah, thank you for that. And it's really you guys who are coming back to give us a try are the ones that it's not us. You are willing to come back. We need to keep elevating the service level though. Let me go to the gentleman in the blue. I'll be right back to you now. Your name, sir?
My name is Jack Gilmore, and with all due respect to the gentleman that I've read about you ever since we've been here. And again, nothing personal, okay? But in my opinion, it's this small-mindedness attitude that's shared by a lot of residents of Ocean Pond that have us in this predicament to begin with. What I know about this gentleman, if they were going to build some sort of a private road for bicycling, he'd be all for it. But I guess you don't play golf. Okay. If you don't replace these greens, he's right. You might as well close up the golf course. And then this gentleman's $200,000 house could possibly be worth $150,000 because we no longer have an absolute beautiful amenity to offer. And when you go to sell your house, I'm sure the realtor will have listed all the amenities that Ocean Pines has. And if he doesn't, I get a new realtor because it's close to market. So I think that we need to have, as a community, a total refocus. I sympathize with this woman.
Absolutely.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's a problem. I feel the same way. But there has to be a come-togetherness of this community. God love you for trying. You may want to look for a new occupation because I'm not sure it's doable. But I also would like to compliment you on the time, the effort that you've put into this whole thing. I think it's an excellent presentation. You've done an awful lot of work, and I just hope you get the support to see something finished.
Thank you.
We were patrons of the yacht club
Your name?
last summer, Lily Hodges, and we enjoyed it. Both pool, the lunches, and in the evening, the entertainment.
I'm going to keep on this side of her. This is great. Huh? No, appreciate it. No, we're trying to do, again, it's those type of feedback we're getting to help us keep making the change. We know we're not where we need to be. Thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. Sheridan, you had a quick question again, and his hand had been up. So.
Oh, excuse me. Have you got the membership for the golf on the
No, I don't.
lifetime?
No, I don't.
Is it Why?
Yeah, I don't play enough golf.
Okay.
You better trust me on
I don't think a lot of people play enough golf.
I'm not the one.
15 people, but how many what the yards or plays do they do? Say they have 1,500 other golfers. They come from Ocean Pines. Once,
Residents
twice,
that play
10
golf,
times?
it's multitude. We track the players and where they come from, so we know who's utilizing the facility.
That's what I said, but you threw out a number of 1,500. Is that when the 1,500 came, or is it 1,500 times 3 rounds?
Times.
How many rounds
That's the
per
golf.
person, Bob?
I don't know how many.
Some play 50.
Yeah, I don't know how many rounds per player. There are 1,500 other.
Give me the total rounds. That's what
Third, we're going to be near 30,000.
34.
30, yeah, far higher than anything we've had. Our rounds are up. I'll show you some golf. Let me give you a chart on golf. Let me ask, you had it. Yes, sir.
Well, I thank Mr. Gilmore for his words. They were very good. I also feel for this lady. I don't live on Clubhouse Drive. I am a golfer. I am a golf member. Would love to have a new clubhouse. But I don't want to do it at the expense of 10
Thank
or
you
15
very much.
homeowners destroying their views. I wouldn't want that to happen to me, and I don't want it to happen to them.
And can I say something? I am not anti-golf, anti-Ocean Pines. I visit the yacht club. I love the yacht club. I love Ocean Pines. That's why I live here 17 years. This was very upsetting to me when I heard this. I broke out in tears. I mean, that's my home. That's my view. That's my sanctuary. And all of a sudden now, because something else has to be built at the expense of everybody that lives along, I mean, that's a beautiful strip of land.
It is.
And I don't think anybody where they live in a community or their area would like anybody coming in, disrupting them, putting more lots there, taking away their views. It's just not right.
And please, I appreciate your.
And I thank you so much,
Well,
sir.
we're a neighborhood,
That's
and we
right.
have to treat each other as neighbors.
Here, and I'll give you and you're not going to like it a whole lot, I know, but it's not meant to be hurtful in any way. I built 3 homes. Myself, my wife and I had a builder, I didn't do it. Okay, we built 3 homes here the last 21 years. Each time we built, it was for my reasoning. Okay, the first one, we had a rancher right on the parkway, been there a number of years. And we wanted a little more space. We didn't want to be on the parkway with our kids, so we built a house. Each time we bought a lot and built another house, the seclusion, well, I live in a sanctuary. We built a house there because we like the privacy, we like the quiet, the kids can play, I don't have to worry about the traffic. The property owned across the street from your home is Ocean Pines property. It's unrealistic to think that property that we don't own can't be used for the greater good of all. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. Please understand it.
Can I say something? That strip of land is not for the great good of all.
I would argue that it is. It's owned by
I think you're just selling it to get the money to fund that building so you don't have to get it somewhere else.
It is, yes, ma'am.
That's the reality
accurate.
of the situation.
That's accurate. Yes, ma'am.
I
Just
mean,
like if we sell some of the property on 589, we have some commercial property there we should be looking at. We have some options. Okay, this is just one. And the board may say, "But we don't like this. We've upset, 18 people live on the street. No good." Okay. But I'm trying to look at it, ma'am. I don't even know you, so I have no animosity towards you whatsoever.
I have none toward you either.
So I'm
It's
looking.
just very.
I mean, you can laugh all your life. I wish you lived
Yeah,
in my
45
house, and I would like,
first.
I mean,
No, but I understand that much with the lady up here. I understand the
Well,
concern.
somebody does it to you someday. We'll
And
see how you like it.
And we hand up here. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Frank Danowski. I live actually, I'm a permanent resident of Bowie, Maryland. But I'm here because we are part-timers over on Windjammer. And I'd like to read you an email that I sent to the board when this process really started. And it's going to focus me, and it's going to take me hopefully away from I wander from time to time, as I'm doing right now. A few words of introduction. My wife Sally and I are recent retirees, me from the federal government and private industry, retired in 2009. Sally, my wife, she was a teacher, as well as being a full-time home mom mom for many years. She decided to retire in June this past year. From 1974 to present, we lived in Bowie, Maryland. From 2005 to present, we're OPA members as owners at 49 Windjammer. We both enjoy family, friends, beach, boating, biking, golf. We were drawn to Ocean Pines by location, the sense of community, diversity of residents and the residences, and variety and quality of the amenities. Just general feedback. The strength of Ocean Pines, in our view, is that it's diverse base, both its population, its property, and assets. The overall OPA view and my goal should be to preserve and enhance that diversity, not attack one element at the expense of another. Many agendas make the process difficult, but not impossible. Adopt the proper vision, and the path to success becomes clear. The Yacht Club, never going to please all. Believe the General Manager's presentation for reconstruction is on the proper vector. Closer linked to Mumford's Pool offers great possibilities. Imagine an integrated marina, clubs, and pools. Sounds like a destination resort. Doesn't have to be done all at once, just put the proper hooks in place. Winter clothes make sense to us and in line with others, such as Mickey Finn's, Marlin Moon, Harrison's, etc. Move the existing Yacht Club pool? Not sure about that one. Golf in our minds, and as witnessed here tonight, probably the most charged topic, and understandably so. We have a bias. We play at golf. We are a la carte users. We believe the course is an asset to the community, an integral part of the overall Ocean Pines tapestry. Any golf partisans buttress their challenge by claiming huge Ocean Pines subsidies on behalf of less than 300 members. Headline making, but hardly the whole story. We've met many OPA members who are not golf members enjoying the course a la carte, including their families and friends, and the circle widens considerably. Casper Golf should be able to give factual underpinning as they, I believe, track each participant. I know every time we go over there, they're tracking us. And we are multiple round users of that course. So it's not just one of the 1,500 that Boss talked about. You need sufficient on-site facilities to host a shotgun golf event of 144 participants. Basic shower facilities are essential to support transient outside players. A flexible, updated miles design for the facility is overdue. I think you've succeeded. Invest and they will come. While sell-off of the 10th hole may appease those hostile to golf, it is foolish in our view. Forever destroys the marketability of a Robert Trent Jones design, in my view. A $235 savings per OPA voting unit is a paltry sum to exchange for the permanent loss of that 10th hole. More to the point, OPA members do not have to be direct users of each and every amenity to derive significant benefit. We are not swayed by those who might argue to reduce their individual assessment because they don't use a particular amenity. For example, the walking, hiking, biking trails, or the crabbing pier, the skateboard park, fill in the blank. We believe we all benefit by all of their existence. Finally, by choosing to be members of the OPA, we believe we have a fiscal responsibility. We chose, all of us chose to become members here. We have a fiscal responsibility to improve on our foundational elements of our association. We do not believe we have accrued a moral, a fiscal responsibility to foster financial decisions driven to satisfy the needs of those on a fixed income. Amenity investments are essential to avoid a debt spiral. Avoid these investments, and the diverse fabric of OP will change. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
I'm done.
That's the third time. All right, this is it.
Third time it was two. That's six.
Yes, sir.
Two things. Yes, I think that gentleman was a little Dutch. Apology for name calling. Number two, what name did I call it? Call him small-minded.
Yes,
Yeah,
you did.
small-minded.
Oh,
said
small-minded.
represents.
That's what you said, small minded. Yeah, okay. Comes well, it's almost small minded. I don't think you lost control of that. When we were talking about
Okay, what?
lost control and let him speak that way.
Okay.
You said in the very beginning that's not permissible, basically. But the last thing is we went through the finances. How does that affect our dues? Because we're going to have what, 100,000, maybe 200,000 a year in payments on the two things. How are we going to pay for it? How are the people going to pay for it?
It's going to depend on what structure that the board, I've thrown a number of elements towards the board. I can't give you a definitive, here's the impact. I can tell you what, for this budget year, which does take in consideration at least doing one of the projects, okay? There's a $30 increase that was adopted 3.5 years ago by a board that said, here's a trajectory that we can be on to help recover or cover the costs of the amenities that we know. At that point, they knew that we're going to have some of these conditions that we need to wrestle with. They put us on that path. Thank goodness they did, because that's where this year's assessment that I've recommended to the board for review doesn't have any increase except the $30, which is staying on that 5-year plan. So under that 5-year plan, does have enough built in to cover these. I mean, that's what I tried to use when I looked at it. Now, keep in mind, there's other pieces that come into it, but I hope that answers the question for now. Now, depending on what they do next year, that may change, but that's my goal, is to stay within that box.
But I always thought you wanted the reserves. I thought that was for the reserves personally. I guess I was wrong.
It's used for reserve replacement, maintenance and replacement. Yes, sir.
Jack Ferry, 16, senior, 16 Martinique Circle. I had to make a notation on this. There's a lot of dining area at the country club, okay?
Yes.
And a nice big, looks like 1,200 square foot kitchen. I think on that. Does that sound right? Maybe, okay, maybe it's wrong. Maybe, you know. But my question was, is this going to be our main dining area for the whole year? In other words, like when the yacht club is closed, okay? And you know, I use the facilities.
I know you do.
Yep. When the yacht club is closed, are we then going to be going to the country club for our dinners and so forth?
Great question. Okay, here's how I'm going to answer that. It's going to depend on which project or both projects get done. When we laid out a plan, a long-range plan with our facilities, the intent was the yacht club would be a seasonal being May to September with shoulders of October, November, maybe as far as December because we have a lot of events and activities, and then take that window of January, February, March into April to either close or as we've done this year, go to a very limited offering. If we had both facilities, we would close the yacht club. We would not have competing elements because it's reasonable. It would be unreasonable to think that we could operate two food service facilities through the winter months. It just doesn't make sense. When the summer comes, the yacht club becomes more of an activity, more the music, those type of things. The golf club primary focus is on golf. That's when most of the outings, the golf experience, those type of things. And it would give us the flexibility of using multiple facilities. Now that's pie in the sky look at it. That makes sense at least to me, on a more global picture. Let's back up a half a step. Realistically, and I think to Dutch's point, not going to be able to get a referendum where we're going to do both facilities. I just don't think so. Now, I could be wrong. I'd love for you guys to stand up and say, no, we want them both. Great, we'll get moving. But if we do one, depending on which one it is, okay, let's assume the yacht club. And the reason I would assume the yacht club, it has more structural issues, foundation, the mechanicals. They're just in worse condition than the country club. So if we assume the yacht club, then the yacht club ends up being a more year-round facility until we make a decision, we being the board makes a decision what to do with the country club. I hate to give you two answers, but it really depends on our decisions from there. Yes, ma'am.
Iris Carey, what happens to the substantial amount of money that we're supposed to be realizing from Ocean Downs?
We have the money. It's actually in a BB&T account. Great question.
Well, what are they going to do with that?
No, what the proposal in this year's budget is to use that money towards infrastructure, i.e. the roads. As you all know, we haven't gotten our roads money for the last 3 years at the funding levels. We're used to getting roads money. We're just not getting it, but we have roads that we need to pay for. Recommendation I had in this year's budget was to take $400,000 out of the account, okay, and that takes this year plus next year's funding, because it's 2013 or 12-13 budget, and utilize that to do our roads project, get back on our roads program.
Because I hadn't heard anything about what was going to be done.
Yeah, no, it's a great question.
And you still haven't answered my question. I don't know if it's appropriate now of
Okay.
why they put all that money into the yacht club when they knew that the foundation and all was in such bad shape.
All right, I'm going to give you
It's a short answer.
I'll give you a short. Okay, we knew there were conditional problems with the yacht club 2 years ago, last year. I mean, I've had inspections done, we've had evaluations done. I knew what we were dealing with. That was a big, safety is always the highest priority for me. If you haven't figured that out by now, if it's not safe, you're not going to be there. I did a mold inspection on the country club. I had a couple people come to me and go, "What in the heck are you doing? You're right in prime time season. If we have to close down," I said, "I don't care. It's got to be safe first. Okay, you'll always be safe. I'm tell you that." So we knew that there was structural, the foundation, the pilings were having conditions. We had a structural engineer give us a plan where we can sister it up, like we did with the first floor of the facility, and pair it up, gets us 24 to 36 months of use out of it, and we re-inspect each year. So we knew where we were. The biggest thing for the investment that we did, and some of the money was spent, furniture which can be moved and replaced, granite tops. There was a reason for granite. I had some people go, "What are you doing? Taj Mahal," not Taj Mahal, guys. Granite is so cheap right now. Guess what? You can pick it up, store it, and reutilize it in any of the facilities. Hopefully, if we do a new yacht club, we utilize it at one of the bars because that's what it's designed for. So our thought process was utilize the money that we spent was in a way that we could reuse it later. Some of the money and it's just shy of $100,000 in total. Some of the money that went towards that, and I don't even think that's right. It was less than that, actually. I don't have the number off the top of my head. That's why I hated to go down this path. But to give you an answer, a lot of that money was internal contractual costs. We charge different cost centers for our guys' labor work. So it was work where we're paying the guys, we just put them on that facility. All that went into play. The biggest thing we had to figure out with that investment, are members willing to come back and use the club? I was told they would. I was told absolutely no matter what you did, it's dead. Just let it die, do a 3-month seasonal thing, done. I can tell you that's not the case. I can show you all the stats. I can show you all the numbers.
I believe it. I go there myself.
There you go. So people have come back and utilized the facility in a big way. We just need to keep that momentum. We need to remember to stay focused on the quality of service, the cleanliness of the facility, internally the food costs, and the labor costs. I can tell you each month exactly where everything is. I can tell you moving forward, we're controlling those much better than we've had in the past. We will do better this year, no doubt in my mind. So we bought 2.5 years of using the facility, learning how to operate it more efficiently, learning that guests want to come and use the facility, which allows us to make a better decision on what type of big investment we want to do in the future. Rehab, rebuild, close down, what have you. So I say it was an investment that helped us learn what our next step should be. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Gene Ringstor, 2 Carriage Lane. First of all, to this lady, my wife and I live across from an amenity. And I was not making fun of you, and if you took it that way, I apologize. My wife and I live across from an amenity where in 2005, due to an act of nature, our sanctuary, our privacy, and our view was destroyed. Okay? We have been working, trying to get Ocean Pines to redo it, to make it back the way it was. And it's gotten to a point now, my wife is spitting nails, because that's the big issue with Ocean Pines. Just trying to get that thing back to the way it was before it was destroyed by nature. And so I just want to make, I don't know where you're coming from.
Sympathize with you.
No, that's okay. That's okay. People can get mad with me because everybody knows I'm a really
Everybody
good
gets
person.
mad at me, so I don't feel
Oh, that's okay. Well, you'll join up. We'll kill everybody.
Hey.
No, just kidding. I want to ask you a question first of all.
Yes, sir.
You're talking about these lots, but the one thing I didn't hear was what would be the cost to Ocean Pines to install all the infrastructure just even to sell it?
$350,000. Covering the road and the
and then if they, because we've had this deal before where we were going to do a sports community hall, down there at the sports court by selling a bunch of interior lots. And I suspect by today, you still haven't sold one of those 19 lots. Okay, so I'm not sure that given the real estate market and given what we're dealing with, that you can put out that and say we could sell these 10 lots or whatever it is. But if that doesn't materialize, it's just go ahead and build the country club, hoping that that materializes, and it doesn't. That's another $350,000 in development costs that we won't recover, and so then it's going to fall back on the property owner. So I'm not sure. Like I said, we tried that once before. Secondly, I know for a fact in Myrtle Beach area where they overbuilt on a number of golf courses and golf course communities, that particularly one golf course that had 36 holes, 54 holes. They closed those golf courses and started building, tried to build new residences. The developers to get their money back because they couldn't get it through golf revenues. The existing homeowners carried out a bunch of lawsuits against them and just held them up for years trying it. So I'm just saying, to me, that's a big risky proposition to be basing the funding on selling 10 lots in this real estate market.
Yes, sir.
Bob, hi, I'm Lynn Smith. I got a couple things to say. First of all, thanks for the great staff work. This is among the best thought out plans that I've seen in a long time, and this stuff does not grow on trees, so you and your team have clearly been working on that. Secondly, I hope you never have to show us pictures of our facilities again that look like the ones we saw tonight. While I could have lived with fewer of them, the quality that they represent and the job that we've done as a community in maintaining our assets is abysmal. And it's time for us to pay the piper on that. We just have to get over the implications of that. Thirdly, I'm still personally not sure about the repair versus replace trade-off, and I'm not sure we've really covered that dynamic well. It sounds like there's about $1 million worth of repairs at the country club versus $3.4 million for the building, ignoring the road for a minute, because you wouldn't get the road with the repairs. And I think that's still a valid question to be asked. Fourth, I think it's really important that you and the board separate the how to finance it question from we have to do something question. In my view, it's completely unacceptable to park this overdue investment on the backs of 10 folks, one of whom is sitting here right now. I think that's just simply wrong. Lastly, I really want to hold you personally, as well as your new facility manager or facility engineer, accountable for not just the work that that person does, but for inspecting the work of the tradespeople, because it's pretty clear that hasn't been done for a very long time, at least at the country club.
You can hold me accountable.
And I plead guilty to not having paid enough to get repairs done, but nobody asked me for more money for repairs until very recently, right?
I am now.
Okay, and so the last thing I want to say is, if I take your $3.4 million, $3.7 million,
Yes, sir.
and divide it by 8,000 homes in Ocean Pines, it's $500 a head, right?
Sure.
You give me a financing plan that says that's what you need, and you'll have my check tomorrow morning. Okay? You really will. I do not play golf. You can look at me and tell I don't play golf. I went skateboarding one time and broke a wrist. That was not in Ocean Pines, okay? But that golf course is damned important to me and to the value of my property. And the $500 is the best value prop that anybody's offered me in a long time. If Dutch can't live with the disparity in the values of our homes, index the price to the county assessment of the values of the homes, and I'll pay that share too. Okay?
Get his name and number.
But we have got to stop dilly-dallying about this. It's a community asset, and we can't park it on 10 or 12 or 20 lots. I'm sorry, my geography is so bad, I can't quite tell where we're even talking about building the new lots. But it's just time to move on.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Sheridan, you're done. This lady right here, you're done. You're done. No, ladies first.
I can
Yes,
yield
ma'am.
to him.
Oh, no. All right.
I'll mail them later. No, I'm only kidding.
Victoria Kiola Westfield Circle. My husband desperately wanted to be here tonight. Unfortunately, he's back in Pennsylvania. We're not full-time residents here. We are golfers. We play at golf. I liked your description. And we love the course. My husband, in particular, loves the course. He's been playing here probably since 1974 and feels that it's a wonderful course. When all of this first came about, he was not quite sure whether he would go for redoing the country club and the yacht club. He feels put the money in the golf course, maybe do the yacht club and let this sit for a while. He feels that, and I do too, that Ocean City, Maryland is becoming quite competitive as a golf destination, like Myrtle Beach. We have quite a few friends that come here now, and we feel that the community would most definitely benefit from having the golf course be a Class A golf course to draw, and I think the community would benefit from the income that's generated from that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Sheridan, before you speak, can I show you? I want to show you all one quick slide. I said I would. I had it teed up just in case I had a golf question. Just want to point a number out for you. Get the light. I know there's a lot of numbers on there. Something that was recently put together. Just so you understand golf. I look at everything, and I know folks go, we're not business. Everything's business for me. Does it make money? Does it make sense financially to do? That's my background. So every decision I make, and again, there's all the feel-goods. I'm a rah-rah feel-good guy who says, oh, he's too optimistic. I can tell you it works, okay? If you believe in what you're doing, you're intently focused on it, you can see where these things. I have a similar slide for the yacht club, okay? And that's where I can tell you the numbers, the revenues were through the roof for regular food, regular beverage, which is what we focused on. And we had many great folks here tonight say, hey, we're out, we like it, we're coming, so that's what it is. Here's what happened with golf, just so you all understand something that I think is very, very, it just sheds a light on why this is important, the Green Project in particular. May, June, and July, okay, of golf of this year, this was this last year, okay, we're up 15% membership play, 33% in non-member play. Overall, we're up 23% in play. That's people coming to use our course and paying to use the course. Our revenue was up, okay? Conversely, August, September, October, when the greens failed on us, when the product failed, wasn't Casper, it was, I've had, I get a lot of people, they applied this, they did that. The course failed. I've laid out 100 different reasons why. It's not really 100, probably 6, but they're strong, and they're third-party validated. Combination of items, but our course is old and worn down. It needs to be revitalized. Our numbers dropped. Okay, and this is 2010 versus 11. This is when Casper's there. This is when they were not. Okay, we were up by almost 2,700 rounds up to this point. Okay, end of the day, year to date. Okay, we're still running up 9.4% despite the failed greens. That's because of how strong they started off in May, June, and July. I want to point that out because if we have a product to sell, everything we're doing at every part of our community, whether it's here in this facility, whether it's at the aquatics, whether it's at the yacht club, or at Golf with Casper, we're focused on quality and what we offer you. Okay, that was why we partnered with Casper. We recognized we weren't doing a great job managing our golf course for a number of different reasons. They're showing us that if they have a product to sell, they can sell the product. The big thing, and I had members, I had them standing on my chest arguing with me about the tee sheets. I mean, they were fuming. They couldn't see, look at, whatever with the tee sheets. It was, I'm telling you, I had board members go, what are you doing? It was a tense situation, okay? We pressed through. We knew we were on the right track. It wasn't easy. End of the result, ask any member, okay, that's a golfer, has that tee sheet had a negative impact, the ability to view it and do it. We've met with a number of members recently, talked about the lifetime membership. Only one kind of quipped with me a little bit. He said it jokingly. Everyone else said it's been no impact, no problem. Change is hard, but I'm telling you, if we focus on the right things, quality product to offer, our numbers are up. Product fails, number comes down, but guess what? End of the day, we're still up. Just like the yacht club. What we focused on, our numbers shot through the roof. The areas we didn't focus well on did not improve. Now we know we're going to benchmark with what we did well, and we're going to make the necessary changes to make the improvements on the other. Much like we identified here, we need to have a product to sell. Now, whether we do the country club this year or not, whether we sell the lots or not, okay, it doesn't matter to me whether I'm just going to keep coming up with ideas and strategies because we need to make the improvements. They're a necessity. And I do have people who argue and say, no, they don't add value. Respectfully, you're wrong. If you tell me amenities don't add value, you're wrong. Go to any place outside of Ocean Pines, live in the county, and look what your value of, take your home, you know your home better than anything, pick it up, put it in another part of the county outside of Ocean Pines. If you tell me your value is higher, you're talking about a head in the sand, your head's in the sand. It's just not accurate. Talk to your county officials. Property values in Ocean Pines are higher than property values outside. Look at our assessment. If you lived in Berlin, Snow Hill, or Pocomoke, you're going to pay more in town taxes than you do in our assessment, and you get far less. Our crime rate's lowest, okay? Our amenities far outweigh any of those, and they're all wonderful communities. They have great people who live there. I know a lot of people in all the wonderful places. They're just not Ocean Pines. So what we're asking you all to do when we're looking at this project, the yacht club, the greens, all those pieces make up the community that we are. And more importantly, I'm sorry you mistook it. That's what the community is about. Being able to talk to each other respectfully and go through these things, which can be tough. Voice your opinion. I'm not offended that you two are upset about it, nor am I offended that the golfers don't like to change intent. Give me other solutions. There's not one right silver bullet to make this work. What works is this type of dialogue. I appreciate it. Although it was long, it was a great, well, I say long because we tried to say 3 or 4 minutes. But it was well said. I saw most people as he read it nodding. This is what the community is about. Okay? That's what we're trying to look at with the facilities. We're keenly focused. We're trying to make tough decisions. And the board was split 4-3 on the Greens project. Thus, for your example, is it the right thing that we do it this way? I will tell you, undoubtedly it was the right decision to make, but it was tough for those that made the decision and those that said not to. Equally as hard for the 3 that said no and the 4 that said yes. I'm telling you, you could see it on their faces. Problem is, I would have asked again this month and again next month because I don't stop. I started in September when they said, what's wrong? And I kept asking and asking. They've got to tell me absolutely no, and I'm going to ask one more time. I'm like a kid when it comes to that. So it was tough. It took them 4 months of a lot of deliberation, a lot of looking through numbers, a lot of doing their homework to decide if it was a good project. So the other thing with the Greens, it's in 2 fiscal years, just so you all know. Or half of it this year, in this year's budget, half of it next year's budget. Our goal is next year's budget, when it comes out, is actually through the lifetime membership. So just think, it was a reasonable way to separate the elements and do it in an equitable way for everybody. Anybody else have questions for me? I'll stay as late as you want, answer any questions you want. Board's got some decisions. They'll drive me in which path to go with. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very nice. I would do the 500 too. My house is as far